One of my professors, his name is Barry Brummett. When I first came out, he was very instrumental in shaping the way that I thought about what success looked like, right? He helped me model this idea of success is what you define it as and not what someone else does.
Mm,
And I have to remind myself a lot about that because it's so easy to compare yourself to other people.
yeah.
But ultimately, it is what you choose to make a goal and go after it that marks your own
Mhm.
success, right? For all the accolades that other people get or you may even get, it's really about what you set out to do and whether or not you accomplish it. And even if you didn't accomplish it, what you learned along the way.
So very excited to have my friend Trung here, who is tuning in from New York. We're very excited to have so many topics to talk about as we celebrate Pride Month. Tell me a little bit more how your time was in Chicago. Super cold, but you've been there for a little bit and you traveled a lot too. Tell us a little bit about that work and your time there.
Sure. When I first got out of college, a lot of what I was doing was flailing around, honestly. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I was temping for a while and ended up working through a friend at Quaker Oats. That's part of the larger PepsiCo set of brands. It's based out of Chicago. And honestly, I didn't even completely understand the role that I was in. It was called supply chain management. I was doing a lot of project work in terms of helping brands get from ideation to full completion of a new project or a new flavor, those sorts of things. That's really where I learned a lot of the skills in the corporate world because I was able to safely navigate, whether it was through my employee resource group work and leadership there, or through the work that I was doing in my day job to find out how do the different corporate functions actually work together. That really was my job to make sure that these different functions aligned and agreed on how these projects were going to go and be prioritized, right? And how to set those resources aside. So I learned a lot just by being a fly on the wall in those meetings.
One of the things that I'm hearing that is super inspiring is you've had the drive to pave that path, to revisit our initial conversation with the identity of LGBTQ. Would be remiss to address the elephant in the room that unfortunately many of those in the offices, no matter where they work, do not feel seen or feel that they can speak about who they fully are.
Mhm.
Tell me a little bit more how you felt throughout your different careers and what helped you know that you can be fully you.
Sure. I think a lot of it has to do with how I approached coming out in general. It's no secret in my family that when I came out, it was a big emotional experience from my family. A lot of that has to do with my upbringing. My parents are Catholic. We have the Asian heritage and Vietnamese background of being very close and tight with our families. And so my approach to coming out was really just saying it was all or nothing, right? So I just put it all out there and said, this is how it is. I moved out, but it wasn't running away necessarily. I was just moving from a suburb to downtown Milwaukee. So it wasn't that far away, but I was the first person in my family to do that. So it was an odd thing for my mom to get her brain around in terms of why would you move out? You're not getting married yet. You can still live here for free and all those sorts of things. And so going back to this idea of like, how did I approach coming out? Once that happened, I just refused to go back. And for me, I'd already struggled for so long internally with my family issues and thinking about how they would deal with that. Once that door was open for me, I didn't want to go back. I realized how much energy I was spending making up stories, trying to explain where I was or what I was doing or what my interests were. That just was so exhausting that it just wasn't worth it for me anymore. Early on was relegated to the idea that if I wasn't able to find jobs that were going to pay well being out, then so be it. But I wasn't going to go back and be in the closet.
For folks who are probably listening, I wish I can be like you. It's not easy. What advice would you share? And I know it's different for
Mhm.
every person, and folks are listening worldwide. So culturally, contexts are also very different for those
Mhm.
outside of America or even in certain states of America where it has legal bounds.
You have to do what's right for you. Safety always comes first, right? And that is both your own psychological safety, your own physical safety, and determining what you can do to set yourself on the right path. Maybe it's coming out to a few people that you can trust. I'm a planner, so I think I had so many different contingency plans that if anything, quote unquote, went wrong or whatever, I would always tell myself, at least I can do X, Y, or Z, right? I'd always be able to at least fall back on a friend, a family member, a place. I totally understand the privilege that that puts me in, but that was my thinking when it came to coming out because I realized that I had to have some sort of option. Otherwise, it was just going to break me.